Hello everybody, this is Patrick with Uncle Bill's Camping, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Coleman 14x14 Instant Event Shade. Some of the things we're going to cover in this video are the pros and cons, setup and takedown, and actual measurements and some of the accessories. Now the first thing you're going to notice upon setting this up is that once you take it out of the bag, it's going to spread out and it's going to lay on the ground. So you're going to have to be really careful about where you set it up. If the ground's really wet or if it's muddy, you're going to have to keep in mind that you're laying the white canopy on the ground to set it up. I don't think this was a really well thought out process by Coleman, and maybe in the future they're actually going to change that. Now once you have the item spread out on the ground, it's not going to take long to set it up. Maybe 2-3 minutes tops on the outside the first couple of times you put it together. And something you're going to have to keep in mind is once you actually have this set up, because of the way that the instant setup is, all the edges are kind of like on hinge knuckles, so moving and scooting it around can take you a long time. Even with two people, it's still kind of hard to maneuver. I know when usually I take these things camping, I like to put them over the picnic table. And since you can't set it up over the picnic table, you're going to have to move it. So it's definitely, like I said, it's going to take you probably two people to really move it around. And even then, you're going to have to handle it with kid gloves. Now, once you have it set up, you're going to notice a couple of things. First of all, the actual legs or the walls on the legs, they all have these net pockets, these mesh pockets on them where you can put stuff in it, you know, flashlights, paper towels, you know, whatever you're going to use underneath your canopy, which is a pretty neat feature. Also inside the top, there's a small hook where you could probably hang a lantern, and there's also these vented hoods at the very top. I'm assuming that's really more or less to let air pass through so it doesn't pick the canopy up. You're also going to notice that on the inside at the top on the corners, there's going to be these snap clips, and these are for putting up the accessory walls. Now, as far as I know, they only sell shade walls for these. I think they're like a gray material that are very similar to what the canopy material is made out of. And they don't sell screen attachments for this. Now keep in mind, something I've noticed in reading reviews and from putting this up is when you put these sun walls on that attach to it, they don't make a perfect seal. So it's not something you're going to put up that's really going to keep water out or anything like that. It's really just going to be mostly for shade. It snaps at the top. I think there's some rings at the bottom legs that it hooks into, and a small Velcro piece across the center at the top to kind of keep it fastened in there. They run about $35 a piece, but you can't put them on all four sides, you know, if you're so inclined. Something also to keep in mind about this is when this says it is a 14x14, it is 14x14 at the base, not at the top. At the top, you're roughly 9 to 10 feet. So, I mean, realistically, this is a 10x10 canopy with a 14x14 base. And you're really only going to get that 14x14 shade if you're using the sun wall. So, you know, when you're thinking about buying this, you also need to include the cost of those sun walls to maximize the space. And something I'm not a huge fan of is the fact that the canopy itself at the very top, it's made out of a thin white material. It's not truly waterproof. I think it's water resistant to a degree, and somewhere in the warranty or directions it's going to tell you not to leave this up in the rain. But more so, the reason I'm not a big fan of it is because when you're using this, if you're out in direct sunlight, this really doesn't do a whole lot to stop sun or heat from penetrating. Some of the other instant up canopies have a thicker, more durable lining inside to actually reflect UV rays. This actually just kind of slows it down. Not something that I think Coleman really thought about when they were putting this together. And you know, as I said before, there's some things that I hope they change about this model. Maybe some darker fabric or something to block the shade altogether or the sunlight altogether from coming through. So taking this product down is pretty simple. you're going to take it down exactly the same way you put it up. And a good tip to use when you're setting it up or taking it down is to have a tarp with you, or a sheet of plastic, something about 10 by 10. If you put that on the ground before you set it up and before you take it down, it's going to keep that canopy from getting dirty, which, you know, is obviously going to prolong the life of your canopy and keep it a lot cleaner. So all in all, I guess this is more of a buyer beware video. I really wanted to like this canopy. It had a really cool design to it. It's fairly lightweight. It's pretty neat how it sets up and how it takes down. But honestly, if I could go back and do it again, I wouldn't purchase this canopy. Coleman really needs to take some time and look at the design of this product and, you know, maybe tweak it a little bit. A sturdier frame, lowering the cost on the sunwall accessories, and as far as the top canopy goes, actually putting some kind of reflective UV material in there that's actually going to block and reflect the sunlight instead of letting it pass through. And, you know, maybe for a good measure, and I don't know if it's on all of their canopies, but to actually make them waterproof instead of water resistant. I think if they were to do that, this would probably be a worthy investment. If you're planning on purchasing this item, I hope I've helped you make an informed decision by providing you some very useful information. And if you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below. And from Uncle Bill's Camping, thank you.